starting off with Kat Black here. She has an issue with her format, wherein when I listen to her videos, I feel like I got something to say on all of them, but they're like on every bit of it, but they're like 20 minutes long. And it's a little bit long generally for this show, but ain't too long for Salty Saturday. Here is Kat Black talking about conservative freakouts over books in schools.
A controversial children's book teaching graphic sex acts, complete with illustrations, making the rounds in school libraries and classrooms across the country, leaving parents and communities outraged.
This sexual education book includes some graphic illustrations.
I come to you today to discuss a book that I found in our school district. It's called It's Perfectly Normal.
I'm here today to talk about this book here. It's called It's Perfectly Normal for students 10.
And so on and so forth. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, but you get the idea. You get what this is about. She shows in this video, in her own breakdown here, she shows that pastor specifically. Now that guy, in my opinion, even though I don't agree with him, he gave a great argument for the case he's making. I want to show that to you guys, so that you can hear what a persuasive argument sounds like. Because I feel like we're getting a little soft. Too much sugary foods. It's been too easy for us to tell when somebody is right or wrong in politics, because the guys that have been wrong have been like mustache twirling villains. I think it's safe to say this guy is either misguided or he's just really good at what he does. But it sounds to me like he's misguided. I don't agree with him. What I mean to say. I don't agree with the conclusion he comes to, but you should listen to this and understand that this is what a solid argument sounds like, in my opinion.
I'll read some of this for you. It says, after a bit, a person's...
Real quick, I should clarify. He's at like a public meeting. He's at a public meeting, and he is there as a father, although he is a pastor. Okay, now you know.
Becomes moist and slippery, and the clitoris becomes hard. After a bit, a person's becomes erect, stiff, and larger. Sometimes a bit of clear fluid that may contain a few sperm comes out of the tip of the penis and makes it wet.
Can we, sir, I'm sorry.
Was it something I said? If you don't want to hear it in a school board meeting, why should children be able to check it out of the school system? We have perverts that are perverting our kids.
That's where he goes off course for me. I didn't agree with anything he said. But the thing that makes me wonder if he's not just misunderstanding, I guess, is that right there. What do you mean, perverts who are perverting your kids? If you just take a step back for a second, you read if you read a book that was in a kid's classroom, and it described, let's say, the process of sexual arousal like that. Let's do the pick a different gender. Let's say they're talking about the process of getting an erection. And you thought it was too titillating for the classroom. You might consider looking into why the class said they ought to have that book. You can talk to the teacher that was teaching with that book and say, why did you think this was appropriate? And get their answer. And no matter what their answer is, no matter what their reasoning is, I promise you it won't be, well, because I'm a prevert that wants to make all kids into preverts. No, and Kat Black will break it down in a moment. But the fact that he just declares that these are perverts, that to me sounds like somebody trying to get a crowd riled up. Not somebody trying to do something with a bunch of people who have cool heads, but he wants to get people to act out. And in the era of clicks and views and all that, that's a concern to me.
And you all sit back smug in your chairs, but you don't want me to read it. Why? Does it bother you? Yes or no? You can't answer that question. You want to know why? Because politically speaking, you can't say that it's wrong. And you don't want me to read the filth because it exposes the truth. How dare you tell me to stop?
No, I could answer that question. We don't read a lot of things that are very sensitive in public meetings like this. My question would be, why are a bunch of adults made so uncomfortable by the facts of what happens when a woman gets aroused? Boy, that really does say more about us than it does about those in the teaching profession, doesn't it? We can't handle reality. Here's other things that would be inappropriate to talk about. Hell, let's keep it with kids. Let's keep it all related to kids here. When King Leopold popped on down to Africa, in the Congo, I think they were calling it at the time, he would hack off the limbs of anybody that did not produce enough rubber for him. And this included children. And there's a heartbreaking picture of a father looking at the severed hand of a child, his child. Just heartbroken. That happened. That's got to be talked about at some point in school. And that picture has to be shown at some point in school so we can face the ugliness, colonization, and be real about what it is. What dehumanizing humans makes us do to each other. We should discuss that. We probably shouldn't show that picture at the local city council meeting, because it's all about what you signed up for. Did you sign up for a class that's going to teach you about life? Not lie to you about life, but teach you about life. Well, you're going to learn about life. And if you are just accepting that you can't handle those facts, that's actually okay. It really is. If it's not your business in society to deal with those facts, and you've said, I'm gonna lay floor tiles for a living. That's all I'm going to do. That's how I'll make myself of use. And I acknowledge this ugly stuff. I acknowledge that there is reality other than laying floor tiles to be dealt with. But I'm here at the city council meeting just making sure the schools are run right. And I did not sign up to see a severed hand. Similarly, I did not sign up to hear the details about what I presume with these folks I'm failing to do for my wife. A lot of Shapiro types there, Walsh types, you know.
Stop reading it. If you don't want to hear it, why should the children have to see it?
Pastor, your time is up. Thank you.
That makes two of us.
Now, I'll be completely honest. When I first saw the clip from...
Come on now, wait a minute. You know I got to give credit where it is due in all cases. That makes two of us. That was an ice-cold line. Your time is up, Pastor. Pastor says that makes two of us. Ooh. Lordy. Again, I don't agree with him politically, but credit where it's due. That was ice cold.
This angry father who is also a pastor, there was a part of me that really understood where he was coming from. I think I immediately thought, these things in this book do indeed seem like they might not be appropriate. I've made a lot of content about being sex positive, and a lot of that content has referenced my experience with sexual violence that I experienced as a minor. And especially when we talk about my experience, which was grooming. We talk about what sex education looks like for children, because quite frequently what happens in grooming is that a child is alienated from the adults in their life, and this person is able to, in so many ways, take advantage of the ignorance that they have around sex. And so sex education for kids is something that people are talking about when it comes to preventing situations like that happening in the future. But I guess there's a really big part of me that struggles with understanding exactly.
Okay, real quick, just want to sum up what she was saying. Why teach that stuff to kids? There it is. There's a lot of good reasons. But number one, how about this? So they don't get diddled. There's all these parents doing the classic right-wing thing, because it's like sport hunting to them. They're not doing it because they need to eat. They're doing it as a hobby. They're doing the classic right-wing thing. They're saying we have to protect kids from diddlers, but they're enabling a society which has diddlers. They're making it easy to diddle by keeping the kids as ignorant about sex as possible. So why would you teach your kids the nitty and the gritty when it comes to sex? Well, first of all, it is good to teach them at an age where they're not particularly interested in it. There's an argument to be made that if you're teaching that to teenagers, they will see it as a guide to coming as close to getting in trouble as you can without getting in trouble. They'll be overconfident, and they'll get in trouble, by which I mean they'll have some kids. Or whatever horrible thing. But you teach folks just what it is. Dispassionately, you teach them what it is. And that way, if some gross dude comes up to them and says, hey, let's do this thing, kid. The kid knows what it is and goes, what the... I'm going and I'm telling an adult right now what you just said. You're going to prison, buddy. Lot of priests would be behaving a hell of a lot more priestly if we were more frank about sexual education in the United States and around the world.
What sex education looks like for kids and whether or not it's appropriate. This book has been very controversial, and several people have attempted to ban the book from schools. And so I wanted to look through the book and see how I felt about it, see if there was something to the idea that this book, this sex education book for children, is inappropriate. All right, let's read the introduction, okay? So it starts out like this. Sometime between the ages of 8 or 9 and 15 or so, kids' bodies begin to change and grow into adult bodies. Most kids wonder about and have a lot of questions about what will be happening to them as their bodies change and grow during this time. It's perfectly normal for kids curious about and want to know about their changing and growing bodies. Most of the changes, but not all, that take place during this time make it possible for humans to make a baby and give birth to a baby. And making a baby has a lot to do with sex. Sex is about a lot of things: bodies, growing up, families, babies, love, caring, curiosity, feelings, respect, responsibility, biology, and health.
Can we appreciate the use of the bird and bee illustration here? First of all, for the adults, they're saying, hey, we're teaching you kids about the birds and the bees. You know, you're welcome, is what they ought to say. Who wants to have that talk? I'll tell you, if I can get away with never talking about the facts of sex with someone that doesn't already know, I'll tell you that'd be about the greatest gift a stranger could give to me, is writing such a book so I don't have to do it. But I do like, in particular, look at this, that they are using them to show a kid that is not yet going through this stuff and does not yet feel this way, and a kid a little bit bigger who is going through these things. That, in and of itself, communicating to the kids that it's normal for some of you to not quite be there yet, and to maybe never be there. And it's normal for others of you to be there, or approaching. That's useful. That's healthy. That's something I think, every generation up to and including mine would have appreciated.
There are times when sickness and danger can be part of sex too. Most kids wonder about and have lots of questions about sex. You may wonder why it's a good idea to learn some facts about bodies, about growing up, about sex, about sexual health, and about gender. It's important because these facts can help you stay healthy, take good care of yourself, and make good decisions about yourself as you are growing up and for the rest of your life. Besides, learning about these things can be fascinating and fun. So that gives you a good idea of what this book is supposed to be about. And it's got a couple of other chapters.
Now, I am going to jump ahead a little bit. Oh, this is the chapter people are most upset about. All right, I'm not going to jump ahead of that. Let's go to the absolute hardest to defend points and see if we ought to be defending them. But I do want to just say, think about the alternative here. Do you have an internet connection? Do you know a kid that is familiar with the internet? Okay. If they don't learn, and by the way, that line, it can be fun and fascinating. I don't know of a scholastic endeavor which didn't try to pitch itself as fun to learn. It's not. It'll be gross. And no matter how much of a devious creature that kid is, it's going to be gross and mildly horrifying. But in the age of the internet, if we have kids not learning what the basics of sex are, you're going to have a lot of kids who get introduced to sex, their version of finding an old crumpled magazine in the woods, the traditional American way of learning things. Their version is going to be some skinny German guy going, yeah, yeah, wearing a ski mask. Let's have one of our goals to make the generation who's alive now and just recently been born, to make their 20s somewhat less awkward. Can we do that? Can we agree that that's a goal, so that we don't have that specific scenario happen, and it will if we don't teach sex ed?
And when I flipped through the page, I immediately opened up on, I think, the page where people are really upset about. So in the picture that I'm looking at right now, there is a depiction of a man and woman in bed, 2 women in bed, and 2 men in bed. And I know that for these people, this is the issue they have, that these people are included in the book and are being referenced. I want to say that might even be like the worst, the thing they're probably the most upset about. So I'm going to skip forward in this book and read this particular page that they're upset about. And it's called Making Love, Sexual Intercourse.
All right. She'll go uninterrupted for a while because it's Cat Black. She puts on a good presentation. But I do just want to clarify, there are some things for which we're not going to debate. Is it okay to be a homosexual? That's not up for debate. It is. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a homosexual. There's nothing right or wrong about it. It's like being tall or short or left-handed or right-handed. Pretty much it should be irrelevant, and its only relevance is what we choose for it to have. So should they depict homosexual relations in this book is not a question that needs to be answered. So the answer is, of course, yes, and we will listen to no arguments whatsoever about how we should pretend that homosexuals don't exist. If you're learning about sex, even if it's not the kind you have, guess what? You're getting an education. You don't want to, you're going to have a gay friend at some point because gay people exist. They're what, 10% of the population? People that are fully Kinsey scale on the side. That's fabulous. You know, you're going to have some gay friends. And you don't put it on the gay friend to eventually answer the questions about the mechanics of sex. Just, you learn it now, and you're done with it.
Dictionary tells us one more thing about sex. It says sexual intercourse. Sex can mean sexual intercourse. Some people call sexual intercourse having sex. Most often, sexual intercourse happens when two people feel very sexy and very attracted to each other, and may also have very loving and romantic feelings about each other. These feelings often make them want to or decide to be very close to each other in a sexual way. People can have these feelings for people of different genders, or for people of the same gender, or for all of the genders. Love that inclusion. One kind of sexual intercourse happens when a person with a female body and a person with a male body are so close to each other that the penis goes inside the vagina and the vagina stretches in a way that fits around the penis. This kind of touching can make the whole body feel good, feel sexy. And when this kind of sexual intercourse happens, it's possible for a female body and a male body, once their reproductive organs have grown up, to make a baby. So they're...
Again, remember, every one of those words, accurate. And the correct response from the school district is, you're welcome. Because those are all things you no longer have to explain to your kids. You're welcome, parents. That's stuff they have to know that you don't have to say. Good.
Being very inclusive of various different types of people, but keeping the language as neutral as possible, female body, male body, right? And they are not explicitly censoring heterosexual relationships. In fact, I think maybe some people might even be able to look at this page and see, oh, there's 2 gay couples, but only 1 straight couple. So what does that say? Most people don't have sexual intercourse only when they want to have a baby. Most often people have sexual intercourse because it feels good. People have sexual intercourse well into old age. These are all things that I feel like if I knew this when I was a kid, it would fill in so many blanks. It would probably...
Now, I'll say this. If there was a serious criticism here, it's not in the words used. I would say the illustrations. If that pastor wanted to get me on his side, he would say, I don't want to see half a nip. We don't need that. Fair enough. But that wasn't really the arguments he was making. It was about the information. So, no dice.
Probably have made a lot of things clearer to me, honestly. When a couple has sexual intercourse and does not want to make a baby, there are healthy ways called birth control that can keep them from making a baby or from passing on an infection to one another. So obviously conservatives who hate birth control are going to hate the fact that's being discussed. And it's interesting. So far, this is just talking about what your options are and what can be, right? And what the nature of things is. None of it is saying you should do this and need to do this right now as a kid. It's more so saying, you're probably wondering what this sex thing is. Let me explain it to you in the most polite way. A polite way, but a way that where I'm not going to deny what's what, right? When a couple has sexual intercourse and does not want to make a baby, sometimes a couple does not plan ahead or decide whether or not to have sexual intercourse. Planning ahead is most often the effective way to keep a pregnancy from beginning. People also call sexual intercourse making love or love making because it's a way of expressing love. But sexual intercourse is only one way of expressing love.
All right, so let me toss a scenario your way now that the butt cheeks are off the screen. Let's say that you got a 15-year-old daughter, and she has a boyfriend who's absolute scum. He's also 15, and he's feeling a lot of emotions, but pretending like he feels none. Your daughter's a heterosexual, so is her boyfriend, and he keeps talking a big game, and he's pressuring her into having sex, saying that he wants to express love. And your daughter is not ready for sex, but she also doesn't want to break this boy's heart. Do you see how something like this can lead to a better world? Even, let's say she expresses what she feels is her love for him in a way she feels comfortable doing. She burns his favorite songs onto a CD because it's 2001. Or she does whatever it is the damn kids do these days. And she either learns that what her boyfriend was asking for was actually not an expression of love, or he's satisfied that she does feel the way she says she feels about him, and vice versa. Doesn't that sound healthier than what we leave folks with now? Doesn't that seem like a good lesson for a young person to learn so they can remember it when they're a still young but slightly older person? Doesn't that feel like a tool you'd want to arm your daughter with? Instead of just saying all men are dogs. I mean, that's accurate, but instead of just saying that, you explain specifically what it is you're concerned about. Let's jump ahead slightly, because this is why I think, truly, a lot of these folks who are so against arming children with knowledge at all are that way. And it's because they got nefarious intentions.
Sexual intercourse until you are old enough and responsible enough to make healthy decisions about sex. Says it right there. One of the things that's hard for me to get out of my mind is while we're having all these conversations about banning books, banning sex ed, making sure that kids aren't looking at certain things in their schools, there's also a conversation happening in tandem where many conservatives are trying to make it so that the age of consent is lowered. And in a lot of places, the reason why that is because there are certain religious marriages that happen when children are technically minors. And more often than not, the situation is a little girl getting married to an older man.
I've heard you talk about parents' rights to raise their kids how they want. In fact, I just double checked. You voted no on making it illegal for kids to be married to adults at the age of 12 if their parents consented to it. You said actually that should be the law because it's the parents' right and the kids' right to decide what's best for them to be raped by an adult. Okay?
Do you know any kids who have been
With
married
marriage.
at age 12?
That was the law. You voted not to change it.
Do you know any kids who have been married at age 12?
I don't need to.
I do.
Let's just leave it there. Missouri State Senator Peter Meredith knows someone who was married when they were 12. That's his culture. Just thought we'd be crystal clear about that. Yeah, and it won't surprise me when I inevitably find out that that Missouri senator is also against kids learning anything about sex and having any sort of defenses against him. Oh, y'all, that's Cat Black. The whole video's great, as always. I recommend you check it out. The link is in the description. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say.